how's it going with the return to pads? And additionally, how are you adjusting to life in the starting role?
Oh, it's great. I mean, for me, I was always like not trying to get like too like high on myself, saying like, "Oh, I'm starting to like I'm just gonna like stop working and stop doing a whole bunch of things that I already have habits of doing." So for me, it's just another opportunity to introduce myself to college football and actually be a key form in our defense.
You go ahead, Audrey.
Brendan, talking with Dad earlier, what was that period like for you when you were at home and Mom and Dad were dealing with COVID, and how did you kind of balance all that?
For me, I wasn't able to go out and continue to work out because for one, I just didn't want to be a risk to anybody else. I didn't know if I was asymptomatic of it or whatever. So for me, I was just keeping myself mentally prepared for whatever and just continuing to stay sane over that time that I was stuck in the house. I watched over a whole bunch of different game film. I have everything recorded in my house, and I was just basically just looking over that and just continuing to figure out like what I was messing up on when I did get in the game, and just looking off of the key things that Cam may have done well or he didn't do so well, and basically just taking notes like that, mental notes.
Ellen Hayes.
Hey, Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Hey, that obviously losing a player of Micah's caliber is big on the playing field, but also with his he's very electric. He's kind of like a spark plug on that defense. Jesse stepping into that role. Have you spoke with him about that? And has he said anything about his expectations or how excited he is to kind of inherit that position and what he's expecting to do with it?
I feel that Jesse he's well for the position. I mean, I already know that he's excited about it, eager every single day he comes to practice. He always brings the juice, energy, whatever that we may need as far as a linebacker group. And I know that Micah is making the best decision for him and his family with opting out and basically going into the draft and Jesse stepping up. I mean, he's already been he knows the Mike position, the Will position. And at times, like, he even knows what I have to do at Sam based off of, like, whatever play it is. So he's knowledgeable about the playbook. I have full confidence that he's going to do what he needs to do on the field and that we can depend on him.
Rich Scarcella.
Brandon, thanks for your time. Two-part question. One, how are your parents doing now? Was there anybody else in your family test positive? And secondly, where have you made the greatest strides since you arrived at Penn State?
My family's doing well. Nobody else besides both my parents that got it. And you said, how am I doing up here?
Hold on one second.
I unmuted you, Rich.
Okay. Where do you think you've made the greatest strides since you got to Penn State, and where do you hope to make the biggest improvements this year?
Really, for me, I was already, at the beginning of the year last year, I wasn't as knowledgeable about the playbook as I am now. And just being out on the field and continuing to get a bunch of reps and just taking my time talking with the coaches and working on my fundamentals with film study and just on the field stuff, I feel more confident in my game and me being able to help the team in any way I can.
Tyler Donahue.
Brandon, you came in last year with Lance Dixon. Both of you were high caliber recruits. We didn't see as much of him in action, though. But what can we expect from him? And how do you think he factors into the defense, even if he's not in that first team lineup?
So for him, he switched around a few positions. He was at the same position where I'm at now when we first came in. And then he switched over to the Will. And he's been working in both, actually, still to this day, and he's knowledgeable of both, and we can expect that he's going to give 100% full effort. He's going to know what he's doing on the field, and he's going to play his heart out. And that's what all of us guys in the linebacker core, that's what we always tell ourselves, like, no matter if we don't know to play or don't know like a specific responsibility based off of formation, just play hard, go 100 miles per hour, and just do what we got to do. I mean, we're athletes. We just got to take what's given to us and work with it.
Bob Flounders.
Hey, Brandon, good to talk with you. It seems, Brandon, like every time Penn State puts an updated roster out, you get bigger. I think Brent Price said a couple days ago that you're close to 245 or 250 now. Is that accurate? And also, he also said Lance Dixon's the fastest guy in the linebacker room, and I'm sure that's true. But how fast are you at that weight? What's your 40 time looking like these days?
So recently, well, actually today, I weighed in at like 244, 245. I had a lift this morning, and I'm moving very well with the weight. I feel powerful, strong, agile, all whole bunch of adjectives you can use. Lance, he's definitely faster than me because like his DB background as well as him weighing a little bit less. But I feel like I'm still able to do what I need to do at an exceptional rate.
Audrey Snyder.
Brandon, totally different vein here, but the NCAA is allowing players to put social messaging on their jerseys this season if they want to. Coach Franklin said the Leadership Council is going to talk about that. But if you could put one message on your jersey this year, what would you want that to be and why?
For me, I can't really like stick to one specific message because there's multiple different messages that I stand by. Not only like you will see the typical like Black Lives Matter on people's jerseys, but also you'll say united we stand, divided we fall, and stuff like that. I mean, like for me as an African American man, like I definitely feel where people say all lives matter because everybody does matter. Everybody, like just how your life matters, my life matters, Mr. Tyler's life matters. Like everybody's life matters. But for me, when I see Black Lives Matter, I see what's going on in the public, what's getting posted on social media, and how like police brutality, different racial acts going on in the world. And for me to even where I'm from where I live and back in Virginia, for me to even walk outside and even feel safe and go downtown to the store or whatever, that takes a lot. It takes a lot. And to have a nice car and stuff like that, that really makes you feel even more of a target, not because of the color of my skin, but what I have while I'm Black. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things that people are able to put on back of their jersey and have great meaning to it. So I can't really decipher off of one specific thing. That's just me personally.
Appreciate it, Brandon.
Gabe Angieri.
Hi, Brandon. Hope you're doing well. So this past offseason, you guys lost 3 starters in the linebacker room: Jan Johnson, Cam Brown, and Micah. What are some of the things you learned from those guys, and how confident that you and the rest of the guys will play up to that level that they played at last year?
I would definitely feel like we're going to miss those guys as far as them knowing what they're doing on the field and knowing the playbook and just having a great amount of experience. But for us, stepping up into the roles, like everybody's stepping up. I'm stepping up in Cam's spot, Jesse's stepping up in Mike's spot, and Ellis is stepping up in Jan's spot. We all have not really the same type of game, but we bring different flavors to the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know Jan, he was like strict. He was going to do exactly what the play is counted for, and he's going to do it well. Cam, with his length and everything that he gets in pass lanes, and also I kind of contribute that too because of basically our like body type or whatever. But I feel like we all, and Jesse, he's more of a bruiser, where Micah, he will run past you and basically just get to the play like that. For me, I feel like we all give the same value, but we just bring a different type of flavor to the game. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not really concerned about us and our abilities, and I have full confidence in us as a unit.
Colton Hayes.
Hey, Brandon, as a true freshman, you played in 13 games last year. I wanted to ask you a kind of a two-part question. First part is, what do you think the biggest adjustment for you was last year during that 13 games period? And then second part of that question, in which ways do you feel you're better equipped this season than you were last season? In which ways do you feel you developed the most?
Okay, so for the first part of that question, for me, the biggest adjustment was not only the playbook, but also, well, I wouldn't even really say the speed of the game because different people have different tempos during the game, depending on the situation. But for me, I would have to say the size of the players in the playbook. Like high school, for me, shoot, offensive lineman was like 5'8", maybe like 180 pounds, soaking wet. So I mean, from that to 6'6", 6'7", 325, being able to move laterally just as well as I can, that's a big difference. That's a big difference. So it was just the size of the players and just being able to understand with all the distractions, fans, different stuff going on in the field, and just being able to lock in and do your responsibility. That's basically the biggest difference for me. And towards the end of the season, I felt more confident in my abilities to be able to handle all that. But at the beginning of the season, I kind of struggled with that because obviously true freshman being in situation, and it was just something new.
Rick Scarcella.
Brandon, I'm going to ask you two very different questions. First, there was a linebacker a few years ago by the same name who played at Penn State, Brandon Smith. Have you ever met him? Have people ever, just on social media in a classroom, have they ever gotten your names confused or whatever? Secondly, the Idaho game last year, what did you like better, your hit or CJ's reaction?
Okay, so for the Brandon Smith thing, there's been definitely people that got us mixed up with like tagging us on Instagram, and just I remember he made a play in one of the Bulls, I forgot it was. He made a interception, and I got tagged for it. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, I didn't really get a whole lot of plays, but I know good and well I would remember an interception. So I knew that it wasn't me. I was like, oh, okay, it's the other Brandon Smith. And then Coach Pry, we always make jokes about it. And I haven't actually met him, but I just know that we've gotten like coaches got mixed up with calling us, like they'll try to call him about something for me, or vice versa like that. So that's the kind of the confusing thing like that. And what was your other question? You're talking on mute.
What did you like better from the Idaho game last year? Your hit near the end of the game or CJ's reaction to it?
The reaction was by far the funny part about the whole play. I didn't even know that he did that on the sideline until like I started like watching the play over and over again, and people were like commenting like, which was just better, the hit or the reaction. I'm like, what reaction? I'm looking on the sideline and I seen like when we have like our pregame hype videos or whatever, I've seen like other people's reactions and like people mouth wide open looking like this, old towels like that. But I never really seen him fall to his knees like that until I caught it, like, I want to say like a week later or something like that. It was like, I just wasn't paying attention to it, but that's definitely the funny part of that whole sequence that happened.
Josh Moyer.
Hey, Brandon. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your teammate, Jesse Lucchetta. I'm just curious if there's a specific play in practice or in a game from him that especially sticks out to you, that kind of showcases his athletic ability. And if not, how would you describe him maybe, as a linebacker? What does he kind of bring to the table?
For him as a linebacker, he's very knowledgeable about what he has to do, and he's going to do it to the best of his ability. And he's obviously a very strong linebacker. He's able to move quickly laterally. He's explosive, and he's able to get out of situations that not only me, but even a few other our linebackers may not be able to get out of when dealing with multiple linemen. Like he's very strategic about the way he uses his hands and being able to decipher off of blocks. And I wouldn't really say there's a specific play that is like pointed out that he really succeeds at, because he's able to move a certain way to even free me up. Sometimes if I may go on a blitz or something like that. So I mean, there's a lot of different things that really go into effect when you're talking about a single play and a favorite play, to be honest.
Evan Patrick.
Hey, Brandon. So last season at the linebacker position, you guys had so much depth with the group of you, Ellis and Jesse being behind that starting group and being able to kind of alternate possessions in a lot of games. Do you see that being the case again this year? And what are the benefits of having like two solid groups of three guys at the linebacker position?
So for us, I mean, hold on, let me think about this. For us, we definitely have young guys that are coming in. We have Tyler Elson, he came in, Zariah Fisher, and Curtis Jacobs. They're going to be coming in, and they're going to get thrown into the fire real quick. Just like I was in Lance as a freshman, they're going to get thrown in as well. Some may be longer, some may be shorter. We just don't know right now. That all depends on them and how they want to work. For me, it's just my job to make sure that whoever's behind me, whether it's Curtis or Zariah, I know Tyler, he's in the middle. I know Ellis will take care of him. I just know that it's my job to make sure that they're up to date and they get all the help that they need. Because for me, being in that position, it was difficult. It was difficult. And just to be able to know more, I just have to be that type of person that just shelters them and helps them out with it to make sure they know what they're doing at all times.
Tyler Donahue.
Brendan, a lot of names in this room came with a lot of recruiting clout, but Charlie Cashier is like the one exception there. Obviously got an offer to Penn State, but not as widespread of recruitment as a lot of you guys. Are we not talking enough about Charlie and the impact he could have in 2020? And what does he mean to the room, being one of the few guys who's been around longer than 2 years?
Charlie is definitely somebody that is slept on. He's able to make plays like he did in a few games this year as well. And for him, he knows all three linebacker positions. So that's something that he definitely holds, and he's definitely valued in that way. Like, say, like if I was to go down with the injury, or say somebody in the middle linebacker position, the will position, he's able to play all three of those and know exactly what he's doing. So he's very knowledgeable. He knows exactly what he needs to do, where he needs to be. And he's definitely somebody that's slept on.
Josh Moyer.
Hi, Brandon. I just wanted to ask, you mentioned, you guys have been asked a lot about Micah Parsons. I'm just curious, do you guys clown on each other at all about Michael? Like, if Jesse misses a tackle, is it like, hey, Michael would have made that, or do you guys not touch that at all? I'm just kind of curious why or why not, how big of a factor that might be.
We don't really clown each other to that standpoint. I mean, we do when it comes to interceptions and who has the best hands in the group. But as far as like the whole tackle situation, anything that comes near us, we're expected to make, whether or not it's Mike, whether it's Jesse, whether it's Ellis, whether it's me, Lance, whoever. We're expected to make that tackle based off of what we've been taught and basically just how we've been able to maneuver through different things. Like if there's a situation where we're definitely getting held or something like that, okay, you got to do this to get out of that type of situation. Therefore, this is how you make that play. So there's a lot of different factors when it comes into that, but anything that we're within range to, we got to make.
And if I could just follow up, you said something you guys, maybe boast about a little bit is who has the best hands. So what linebacker does have the best hands?
It's between Charlie and Lance. That's who Coach said. It was actually this week in practice we talked about that. It was between Charlie and Lance, and then it was me and Ellis like shortly after or something like that. I don't really remember.
Evan Patrick.
Hey man, so I read on your player profile on Go PSU that you plan on majoring in criminology and that you want to be an FBI agent. So I'm curious, is that still your goal? And if so, what led you to wanting to do that?
Okay, so when I first came in, that's exactly what I wanted to do. But now, because of just time management, and that wouldn't really be a beneficial major for me. I feel that I would still be pursuing that if I was just a regular student, but being a student athlete, I just couldn't forfeit that time and have that extra time to like pursue that. So I switched to journalism and the broadcasting and journalism. And that's what I feel like is more beneficial for me, not only branching with football and athletics, but because of who I am as a person.
Go ahead, Josh.
Brandon, you've got to see a lot of your teammates this offseason. I'm just curious, who has impressed you most with their offseason, and who do you think might be, poised for a breakout besides Brandon Smith?
Really, I've seen a whole lot of different people succeed and grow over this off season, and it's not really one specific person that I can really count out. Like I know one of our defense backs, Joey, he's definitely came out and showed different light, and he's been great. And he's even been working with our starting group when we're in practice, and he's succeeding this like at a great rate. We already know Marquise. He's a light in defense. He's always going to talk. He's going to be himself, and he's going to make plays the way he knows how to. We have different linemen, not only Antonio and everybody that we have that starters, but we also have Adisa Isaac, Hakeem, Devon Elise, and a whole bunch of guys that have been exceeding and doing well as well. Yeah, so there's really not one and that's just only defensive side of the ball. There's not really one particular person that we can just exceed out.
Go ahead, Evan.
You mentioned Joey being one of the guys that you see making a big leap. I'm curious as to what is his personality like being around the guys, and what has he brought to the locker room since you came in with him?
So for us now with COVID and everything like that, we're in, I want to say like 3 different buildings. Like some are in like most of like the older guys are in Lash, some in Aluba, and some in Pagula. So for us, we don't really get that type of locker room time that we usually have with each other like we did last year. So for seeing him on the field, like for me just knowing him for who he is, like last year, he's very quiet. He doesn't really speak much. He's just gonna do what he needs to do on the field, basically. So that's just the type of person he is. If you talk to him on the field, then he's gonna talk back and he's gonna step his game up even more. That's just who he is as a person.
All you, Josh.
Yeah, just curious, since we were on the topic of Micah before, what is the most important thing you've learned from him, and who do you find yourself maybe leaning on teammate-wise for advice now?
For me, being a starter, I had to just lean on not only the coaches but Jesse and Ellis. Like for most of the stuff we had to do, we also had to depend on each other doing certain things in order for the defense to work, as well as defensive backs and the defensive linemen. So I had to depend on everybody to do what they need to do, and for me to do what I need to do for this whole defense thing to work, and for us to be the best defense that we possibly can. As far as the Micah situation, I would have to say his decision making and him getting to the ball and just his eye for the ball really is what I take from him. You very seldom see him indecisive about what he wants to do. And when he decides that he's going to go for the ball, he, for one, does his responsibility, and 2, he gets to the ball quicker than anybody else. So those are the things that I can definitely take from him.
And one more question for me, and I'll leave you alone here. But you mentioned the CJ Thorpe tackle before. What has been your favorite tackle? You know, whether in high school, college. I'm just curious if one jumps to mind for you that kind of sticks out.
Very favorite one. I would have to say there's a few in the high school that I made a few people's helmets come off. And then there was even like a few different like special teams moments in the state championship game, I want to say 3 years ago, where I made great plays when my team needed it, even though we still ended up losing, but they were great plays that can potentially brought us back in the game.